In 1941, when the war broke out, Marvin Goodnight was just 17. Finished his high school in Hubbard, Iowa, joined the military, took his basic training, and was sent off to England. After landing in England, Marv Goodnight and the 546 Artillery waited. Then in July of 1944, the 546 crossed into France. Once in France, headed west, through Paris and into Germany. And in Germany, the 546 was split. Marv Goodnight's unit headed south to Austria. This is part of Marv's story. Okay, Marv, what do you have there?
This is on the old hand grenade. I don't know whether it's loaded or not, but I can pull this pin and toss it. We'll find out. It's a 5-minute delay once that pin is pulled and this latch falls off. You got 5 seconds to get rid of it.
All right. Did you ever throw any of those?
Oh, yeah, I've thrown a lot of them, but I didn't wait the full 5 seconds. I threw them as fast as I could. You're supposed to wait a second or two so they don't throw it back at you. But I always tried to get rid of it as quick as I could. I didn't want it going off my head.
And then you also have a bullet?
Oh, this here is a...
Hold it more. Okay, let me get... Okay, there you go.
20 millimeter. It's a dud. Anyway, it should be. It says dud on it.
And what did you do with those?
These here was 20 mil. That's what, when we went across, I went across the Queen Elizabeth, and I manned a 20 millimeter gun on it. Okay. That's what my gun squad did, going across to England.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're sitting here in July of 2009, and my guest today that we're going to talk is Marvin E. Goodnight. He is from Owl Falls, and we will be discussing and visiting about his time in World War II. Marv, you were born in 1924.
Yep.
So that would have made you about 17.
Yep.
When December 7th,
yep.
1941 happened.
Yep.
What do you remember about that?
About all I remember, it was really, for December, it was a beautiful day. It was a nice day, it wasn't too cold, and I used to run around with a guy that had a touring car, and we was down Falls with the top down, and on Main Street up there, and we heard, and it couldn't have been by a car radio, because cars didn't have radios back inside, as far as I know. We didn't have an old Model A anyway. And we heard somebody say we'd been bombed. Pearl Harbor'd been bombed.
And what were your feelings at that time?
Well, you know, when you're young, you don't really realize what you're getting into. Of course, you was mad at the Japanese for doing it, but you didn't realize that you was going to be there one of these years. And of course, you was mad at them, but you know, young people don't really take it to heart like you should.
Why don't you put your grenade down?
There you go. I like to play with it.
Okay. Once you knew that we were at war, and you were still in high school?
Yep.
And when you finished school, you joined the service?
Yep.
And what branch of service did you join?
Well, I was going to join the paratroopers, and then my dad was down to Ottumwa. He had a couple of trucks on a air base they was building there, Naval Air Base. And so I went down to see them before I was going to go to the Army. And he wasn't too happy about me joining the paratroopers. So they put me in anything they wanted to. And I enlisted, so I had a choice of what I wanted to get into.
And where did you take your basic training at?
Camp Horn, California. That's a good place to go in January from my way.
So you joined in the military pretty much right after December 7th?
No, that was 1943 is when I
Okay, you once finished school
Oh yeah, well,
and
I
then
didn't
joined the
finish school.
military. Okay.
But
Did you take all your basic training in California?
I spent my basic training, and the next training I went to camp. It's Fort Irwin now, California. It's out in the middle of the desert. And I took desert training because they were going to send me to the South Pacific. And of course, if you know the Army, they didn't send us to the South Pacific. They just give us desert training and send us to Europe instead, where we about froze to death the first winter.
All right. And after your basic training, it says here that you went to New York.
We took a troop train from Blythe, California, to up to Camp Shanks, New Jersey. Yep.
And then they put you on a transport, and overseas you went.
We went by boat up the Hudson River, up to the pier, and then they loaded us on the Queen Elizabeth, and it took us 5 days to get to Scotland.
And what unit were you in?
I was 546 anti-aircraft artillery.
And what did that consist of?
Well, we was attached to, whatever we was attached to, we was their air cover. We was to shoot down the enemy planes. And so we was attached to a lot of infantry divisions.
So then you went over to Scotland.
Yeah. I landed at Scotland, and then we took a train down to England.
Now it says in this diary that even in Scotland you were getting hit by buzz bombs.
No, not in Scotland. That was in England.
Okay.
In England, Hitler was sending the buzz bombs over. And the night before we shipped across the channel to Normandy, buzz bombs were landing all around the pier there. And we was in a big building, big open shed. It had skylights in it, and they were so close they was knocking the lights out, the glass out of the skylights. And there was a place for people to go, you know, when the bombs hit, down underneath of there. And me, I'm always slow getting up, so I about got trampled to death. The guy's rushing down there to get down to the air raid shelter.
How much of a notice would you have?
As soon as you heard it hit.
Okay.
The thing is, a buzz bomb, these here went put, 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 put. When you heard that, you know a buzz bomb was coming over. And you didn't know where it was going to hit them.
Now, it says in this diary that you guys were going to be over on D-Day, but you had an illness.
So many of us had the mumps. The tents we were in England had water running through them. And boy, a whole bunch of us got the mumps, and I wound up in the hospital for 18 days.
All right. Now,
So
what was when you were waiting to go over to make the invasion, what was that like?
You're still young. You still don't know, but you're sure God that you didn't make the invasion because there's so many wounded coming back. And I happened to be in a hospital at the time with the mumps when all these here guys that went to the invasion was being brought back to the hospital wounded. So then I got the idea, boy, am I happy I didn't get, you know, I was in the hospital.
So then you got out of the hospital, it says,
Yeah.
and then you went over in July
Yeah.
to Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, we wasn't inland very far. And so the first thing we did, of course, we had trucks to pull our machine gun and to pull our 40 millimeters. So we didn't walk, we rode. But we drove into a hedgerow, and it's dark, so that's where we sat all the first night. And the Germans, they was on someplace around in the hedgerows too. So we didn't make very much noise that first night. We were scared to death.
So how many people were in your unit?
We had 14 in my gun squad.
So now you went in, it said in the first part of July, that was about 3 weeks after D-Day.
Yeah.
What do you remember about when the sun came up the first day?
Oh, wow, awful glad to see the sun. We were glad to see another day because I tell you what, you'll never know how scared you can be in the dark. You don't know who's on the other side of that hedgerow. You don't know where the enemy is. And this is the first night of where you've heard live shells and hitting around and machine guns going off, rifles fire, and it's not a very good feeling. You're scared to death, really.
Okay, and then what do you remember about the first day? Then once the sun came up.
I don't remember anything about the first day.
Okay.
I don't remember hardly anything about it. I mean, it was just another one. There were so many days that they all run together because, see, you're on duty 24 hours a day. You on the machine gun, say, for so many hours. Then if you're not moving, you can go sleep for a while. But then you're back on that machine gun again. And so you're always tired, you're never not enough sleep.
Now, where would you? You would just find a foxhole or something?
No, we dig a foxhole. We don't find one, we dig one. You dig your own foxhole and you get down in it, and that's where you sleep.
What about, like for food when you were on the beach?
They come around, a Jeep will come around and give you some C rations or K rations, whichever. And that's what you eat that day. It's cold, I mean, and sometimes you can't heat anything up because you don't stop long enough. And so it's cold food most of the time. But you feel lucky to get it.
Now, once you got on the beach, what was your first destination?
To get off the beach.
Okay.
You get up, because here's a bluff over here, and that's where the Rangers clumb them ropes up and got shot at and everything else going up. And the beach is on the left. And I mean, I can still see it. You've seen pictures of the beach, Omaha Beach. Well, that's the way it was. And there's corpses around, and there's, it's not a nice place. You want to get off from it because people get killed there.
Now, when you said corpses,
Yeah.
that's the Americans and the Germans.
That's mostly Americans on the beach.
Okay.
Yeah. And after you got up off the beach, well, then that's where you run in Germans that was laying there.
What was your first encounter with the Germans?
Well, you'd see them at a distance, you know. You it wasn't hand-to-hand fighting like that, but anytime you seen a bunch of them, you shot at them. I mean, that's what that machine gun was for. And, you never knew how many you hit or anything like that. It's at a distance. It isn't like the trench fighting in World War I. That was hand-to-hand, a lot of it. Here it wasn't. Here it was, with us anyway, we was at a distance, you know. And of course, we wasn't there for the ground fight. We was there to shoot at the planes.
So what you're saying is that your mission was to get set up for artillery to support the troops.
Right. And
shoot down the planes.
Right. Right. Any planes come in, German planes, Focke-Wulfs, MA-109s, Stuka dive bombers. That's what we shot at. And that's what we was there for.
Now, did you shoot every day at them, or?
No. They was no, because we didn't see them every day. Our P-40s, P-38s, they pretty well had the Germans taken care of. I mean, the planes. We had a lot of times of the troops that didn't know a German plane from an American plane and keeping them from shooting at the American planes. Yeah, Jesus,
Are there any special friendships you made with your fellow soldiers, What was your feeling towards your fellow soldiers?
Oh, we still, just last year was our last reunion we had. And there's only 2 guys left in my gun squad, which was started with 14. And there's only 2 of us alive. And he's from Nebraska. And they had a friendship for 50, 60 years.
So in your unit there would be 14 or so
In my gun squad.
in your gun squad.
There was four gun squads in the 2nd platoon. There was 4 gun squads in the 1st platoon, and a 1st and 2nd platoon, and then a headquarters, and that made up a battery.
So when you would move from place to place, in which you, in this article, I think it said you traveled almost 7,000 miles.
Yeah, clear across to Austria.
Okay. And you would, let's say, as the troops moved up, you guys would be right behind them.
It all depends who we was attached to. At one time, we was attached to Patton's headquarters. So we was behind the lines. It was real fine. It was nice. I seen General Patton take his walk about every morning with his little white dog, and that was good. But then some of our officers wanted some medals, so they got us attached to the infantry divisions, which that wasn't fun at all.
What was that like?
Well, then you was on the front all the time. You was up where the fighting is. You was up where you get killed. Back with Patton's headquarters was much better. We liked it a lot.
Now, what was your closest call?
Oh, the one I remember at Saarlautern. We took Saarlautern at the German town, in 1945 on March 17th. And we had a hotel and little buildings surrounding a courtyard. We had our machine guns set up in the courtyard. And for some reason or other, somebody was shooting at us with a machine gun every time we'd go to the change shifts, So we'd change shifts at different times, so they didn't get to really shoot at us till we were just about there. But we called in the Rangers, a couple Rangers come up, went up in a hotel. That was really good, fine duty there. I had 5 mattresses I'd taken out of rooms I was sleeping on. Well, that was good. But anyway, these guys had us change shifts so they could see where the shots was coming from. And they spotted the machine gun, and which was in about a quarter of a mile away, and a big smokestack that was over there. And they had a machine gun up in that smokestack. And they called in 155, and they blew the bottom of that smokestack clear out from under them with the 2nd shot. So we wasn't bothered with that guy anymore. But every time you change shift and all them, and you know how close he was coming to you, because the other guy that went with you, if you was behind him, you could see where that machine gun bullets were ticking behind him. They never did catch up with us. Boy, we could run fast.
You told me once that you thought you were safe and you lit up a cigarette once.
Oh, I sure did. We retreated, and we thought, we went for miles, we thought way back behind the lines. And I told the guys, go on down and make some coffee in that gully there, and I'll stand here on the machine gun.